Hello everyone, this is the TI84 guy. I'm back. Today what I wanted to do is I wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to go through some SAT Math Level 1 questions and some SAT Math Level 2 questions, and I wanted to basically focus on using the Alinear program and how you might use it on those two exams. Generally what I do is I focus on the ACT or the SAT or the PSAT, but today is going to be Math Level 1, Math Level 2. I have several questions that I wanted to try to do. So I'm just going to jump into this and I'll go from there. So here we go. All right, the first thing that you're going to see here is this is the official SAT subject study guide for Math Level 1. I took a few questions from here. I've also taken a couple of questions from the Math Level 2 study guide. This was a teacher's study guide that I took some questions from, right? There was also a student guide that I also took a question or two from. So that's what I used to come up with these questions. So here's the first one. It says, it says when purchased an automobile is valued at $15,000, its value depreciates at a rate shown in the table above. Based on the least squares linear regression, what's the value to the nearest hundreds of dollars when t equals 4? So I've already kind of put this up here. So here's the, they're saying when the input is 4, what's the output going to be? We're going to use this table of values to generate a linear regression. And we're going to use that regression to solve for the output when the time is 4. So what I would do, as soon as I know it's a linear function, I would go to the calculator. Let me clear all of this out. And then I would go to the home screen. Let me clear this. And the first thing I would do is I'd go to the program and I would choose Alinear because it deals with linear functions. And then now, I want option 6, which is the linear regression piece. So I press enter, and then it says how many points. They gave us 4 points. So then it's just a matter of entering those. And this part is you just got to go quick, but you got to keep it accurate. So $15,000 initially, that was the value of the car. And then after 1 year, it went down to $13,000. And then after 2 years, it was down to $10,900. And then after 3 years, or nope, not 3 years, but after 5 years, it was $3,000. Press enter. Now, as soon as that's done, you're just going to go to the y equals, and it's going to have the equation in there. It generates the equation for the linear regression. Now, we don't really care about the linear regression. Here's what we want. We want to go to the table. And let me get rid of this piece. So basically, all we want to know is when, after year 4, what's the value of the car? And we're rounding it to the nearest hundred. So this says $5,617 and about 90 cents. We're just going to round this to the hundred. So this is going to be $5,600. And then we would go back to the test, and we would circle 5,600, okay? So that's using the linear regression. Now, here's another question. I'm not gonna do this because it actually has 8 pieces of data, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But you would do it basically the same way. You would enter these 8 pieces of data, and then you would go to the table, and you would look for, if there's 18 chirps per second, what's the temperature going to be, all right? So it's basically the same thing that I did in the last question. I don't want to necessarily do that question now because entering the 8 pieces of data would take up a lot of time. I just wanted to show you that linear regressions show up on the Math Level 1 and Math Level 2 frequently. They don't show up on the SAT or the ACT, but they are definitely showing up on Math Level 1, Math Level 2. So just understand that. So let's go to the next thing. All right, so this one was taken from the SAT Math Level 1 study guide, and you're given a system of equations here. And what they want to know is what value for K what do you need to put in for k to make these two lines have no solution? And basically what that means is they need to be parallel. Parallel lines have no solution because there's no intersection. So all we would do at this point is we would go back to the Alinear program. We'd press enter. Now we're going to choose option 5, which is the system of equations. Let me go up, whoops, press enter. Now, and then it's going to say, what's the format of the linear equation? Was it in the slope-intercept format or was it in the standard? Well, in this case, it was in the standard, so we could go, the A term was 2, the B term was a -5, the C term is 8, and then we do that again, and the next equation was also in the standard form, so this would be 4. Now this is what we're trying to determine, the constant k, so let me put that in, alpha, and then we click the parentheses, and then the C term was 17. When we press enter, it's going to calculate. It says k must be a -10 in order for that system to have no solution. And if we go there, whoopsie, let's see, share screen, come on. It's going to be this. We're going to say a -10. So it handles systems of equations. And in particular, when you're trying to find no solutions or infinite solutions, the linear program, Alinear program can handle it. Okay, let's go to the next thing. All right, so this is kind of similar to the last one, except that we're trying to find the intersection, but they don't give us 2 equations. They give us 1 equation and it has 2 variables. So basically we can't solve for x and y individually, but we can find the ratio of those 2 things, and that's what they're looking for. We're trying to find x over y. Now, the way that I would do this is I would plug in a value for y, and I would make that 1, and then I would just solve for x. So here's what I would do. I would make this 5x minus 1 equals 8 plus 12x, okay? And then I would just solve it, and then whatever the value you get for x, that's going to be your answer. So again, you can do this without a calculator once you've realized that, but what I would do, just to show you, you can use your calculator as well, is I would press enter, and then I would also use the system of equations, and I would say this one's in slope-intercept form. The slope for the left-hand side of the equation is 5, and the y-intercept is a -1. The slope for the right-hand side of the equation is 12, and the y-intercept is 8. And now you just press enter, and it tells you that the x value is a -1.28. We'll round it to the hundredths place, so this would be a -1.29. If we go back to the exam, that would be choice 8, or choice A, right? Pretty straightforward. Now, let's keep going. All right, here's another question. This was taken from, I believe it was from the Math Level 2 study guide. It says, if we have the points 2b, 3, b plus 3, a -2, and b7, and they all lie on the same line, they want us to figure out what the value of b is. So basically, this is a linear function, but they've given us they've given us 3 points, but the points all have variables in it. So let's go here. We're going to press this. We're going to use the Alinear again. In this case, we're going to use 2 points, but watch what happens. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to use b, although I could use b. I could use alpha and then press the apps button. But I'm going to change the b's to x's just to make it quicker. So this is going to be 2x. The y value is 3. And then we have x plus 3. And the y coordinate was a -2. And now, if the program detects a variable, it says, look, the only way that you can solve for a line is, and you had variables in it, you have to have a third coordinate, or you have to know the slope. In this case, we have a third point. So we're going to put in that, and that would be x and then 7. And once you've done that, you press enter. And okay, for this part, you just have to make a guess. You have to tell the program where to start. And what I would say is it should be something, it should be within the constraints of the answer choices. So I'm going to make it, I'm just going to make it 1, or I'm going to make it 1.2, something, and then press enter. And it tells us that the x variable is going to be 1.33333. Which if you convert it to a fraction is 4/3. So if we go back to the actual exam, that would be choice E, okay? So again, that should be pretty straightforward. This is just a line, so we use the option 2 for 2 points. And because it has variables in it, we actually had to have a third point, which we do. Let's keep going. All right, so now this was taken from the student guide. And they've given us an arithmetic sequence. Now, I have written a program called Ace Query, and I also have a video on how that particular program works. So, and I will include a link up here that you can go to watch that video. But what I want to do is I want to show you that basically an arithmetic sequence is a linear function. So arithmetic sequences are linear functions. And because they're linear functions, we could also use the A-linear program. So I'm going to show you how we do that. So here, I'm going to go to the program, I'm going to press enter, and I am going to use 2 points again. So it's basically going to be very similar to the question we just had. So the very first term that we have was 2t. I'm going to use t for this one, even though I could use an x. All right, so it was 1, 2t. The second term was 5t, 5t minus 1. And then again, we need the third point, and the third term was 6t. So 6t plus 2. And what it's going to do is we have to take a guess again. I'm going to say 2.5, just come up with some answer. And then it tells me that the term is 2. So that means that, let's go back to our equation real quick, or to the problem. So that means that our first term is going to be 2 times 2, which is 4. Our second term is going to be 5 times 2 minus 1, which is 9. Our third term is going to be 6 times 2 plus 2, which is going to be 14. Now, we want to know what's the fourth term. So this is going up by 5. This is going up by 5. So this is going up by 5. So it's got to be 19. So that would be this. So once I know what t is, I can easily solve this. Okay, so the question is done. All right, let's keep moving. All right, so this is taken from the Math Level 1 study guide. And I've tried to draw it to give you an idea of what it looks like. It says the radius of the base of a right circular cone is 6, and the radius of a parallel cross-section is 4. It says that the distance between the base and the cross-section is 8. What is the height of the cone? So they want to know the height of the cone. So basically, these are, because we know these are both right angles and they also share a common angle, we know that these two triangles, the small one and the big one, are similar. And similar triangles are proportional, and proportional things are linear functions, so we can also use the linear. And I'm going to go ahead and set this up. The small radius to the big radius, and the small height to the big height. And then once I've got that, let's go here to my calculator. I'm going to press enter. In this case, I'm going to use option 4 for proportion. And then I'm just going to say the small radius to the big radius And then the small height, I'm going to make this x minus 8. I could put an h in there, but it's more keystrokes to the height of the big one. And then it tells us that x is 24. So the height is going to be 24. So let's go over back to the exam. And we're trying to find the height of the big cone. So it would be 24. So that's it. I think I have, this is the last question. Okay, so this is basically just a function, and they want us to, they're giving us 2 points, and they want us to come up with the equation. So this is a very straightforward question. It says if f of 1 is equal to a negative 3, when the input is 3, the output is 2, they want us to come up with the function, and it's going to be in slope-intercept form. And we're going to take the slope and the y-intercept, and that's going to be a point AB. All right, so again, this was a pretty straightforward question. You press enter, and then you're just going to use 2 points again. And the 2 points are when the input is 1, the output is a negative 3. When the input is 3, the output is going to be 2. So press enter. And then we just want the equation of the line. Click through it too quickly. So let's do that again, 2 points. Input is 1, output is a negative 3. The input is 3, the output is 2. We want the equation. We want it in the fractional form. So it tells us that the slope is 5/2. And the y-intercept is a negative 11/2. So if we go back to the exam, that would be choice B. Okay, so I think that's it. All right, so now, if you'd like to get a copy of the Alinear program, here's what you need to do. I need you to send me your email address, make sure it's spelled correctly. I need you to tell me what kind of TI84 calculator you have. Is it a TI84 Plus? Is it a TI84 Silver Edition? Is it the TI84 Plus CE? Or is it a TI83? Because all of those programs or calculators can basically use this program, right? But I need you to tell me what it is. I also need you to subscribe to my channel, please. And also, if you would just like this video, the likes attract more eyeballs. I'm trying to help as many students as possible. So help me out in that respect. Send me your email and I'll get this to you as quickly as possible so that you can use it to prepare for your Math Level 1 or Math Level 2 exam. All right, thanks guys. Stay safe.